Corsica, an island of rugged beauty, with its dramatic cliffs and serene beaches, birthed one of history's most formidable figures, Napoleon Bonaparte, in 1769. This land, steeped in ancient blood feuds and fierce pride, shaped the young Napoleon, a son of minor nobility, who carried this fiery spirit within him. As a restless child, he yearned for more than the small island could offer, always looking beyond the horizon. Books became his escape, immersing himself in tales of history and strategy, which soon became his obsession. Little did anyone know, this small, intense boy with a burning gaze would one day shake the world to its core. Napoleon's father, recognizing his potential, secured him a scholarship to a prestigious military academy in France. At the tender age of 9, he left Corsica, embarking on a journey that would change his life forever. France, a land of opportunity, was also a place where he faced prejudice and scorn. Napoleon endured relentless taunts for his thick Corsican accent and provincial manners. Feeling like an outsider, he buried himself in his studies, excelling particularly in mathematics and military strategy, determined to prove his worth. A burning ambition began to take root in his heart, fueling his desire to rise above his circumstances. He dreamt of glory, of proving his worth to those who scoffed at him, and of making a name for himself. Meanwhile, France was on the brink of revolution, a nation teetering on the edge of monumental change. The tremors of change were in the air, and the old order was beginning to crumble. This turbulent era would become Napoleon's crucible, a time of great trials and triumphs, forging him into a legend that would be remembered for centuries to come. The Bastille falls. The French Revolution explodes, shattering centuries of old order. The streets are filled with the cries of liberty, equality, and fraternity. Chaos and opportunity grip the nation. The old regime crumbles, and a new era begins to take shape amidst the turmoil. Napoleon, a young artillery officer, watches with keen interest. He is not just a bystander, he is a keen observer of the unfolding events. He sees the revolution tearing down the old, but also the chance for a new order to rise. His moment was coming. He knew that in the chaos, there was a place for someone with vision and courage. His chance came with the siege of Toulon. The city was a strategic point, and its capture was crucial for the revolutionaries. Royalist forces held the port city, threatening the revolution. The stakes were high, and the revolutionaries needed a decisive victory. Napoleon, with his grasp of artillery, devised a daring plan. He understood the power of artillery and how it could turn the tide of battle. He rained down cannon fire, shattering the enemy defenses. Toulon fell. The victory was swift and decisive, showcasing his military genius. Napoleon, at the age of 24, became a hero of the Republic. His star was rising. The young officer had proven his worth on the battlefield. He was promoted to brigadier general. This was just the beginning of his meteoric rise. His tactical brilliance and unwavering ambition marked him as a man to watch. He was not just a soldier, he was a strategist and a visionary. The revolution had found its sword. Napoleon Bonaparte was ready to carve his name into history. France, now a republic, was at war with Europe. The revolution had ignited a fire that spread across the continent, challenging monarchies and old regimes. Napoleon, the rising star, was given command of the Army of Italy. His appointment was a gamble, but one that would pay off spectacularly. He was outnumbered, outgunned, but never outmaneuvered. His tactical genius turned the tide of battles that seemed unwinnable. He led his troops across the Alps, a feat of military daring that stunned his enemies. Victory after victory followed, each one cementing his reputation. Napoleon became the scourge of Austria, the victor of Lodi, Arcole, and Rivoli. These battles were not just victories, they were masterclasses in strategy and leadership. He was France's shining hero, a legend in the making. The people saw in him a beacon of hope, a leader who could restore France's glory. His Italian campaign was a masterpiece of strategy and speed. He moved his troops with such precision and swiftness that his enemies were left bewildered. He outmaneuvered larger armies, securing victory after victory. His ability to anticipate and counter enemy moves was unparalleled. He returned to Paris, a conquering hero. The city welcomed him with open arms, celebrating his triumphs and the promise of more to come. The people adored him, seeing in him a savior, a leader who could bring order out of chaos. His ambition soared, fueled by the adulation of the masses. He envisioned a France not just victorious, but dominant, an empire under his command. His dreams were grand, and his determination unyielding. The stage was set for the rise of an empire. The year is 1804. Napoleon, already the most powerful man in France, takes the final step. He crowns himself emperor, not in the tradition of kings but with a laurel wreath, a symbol of Roman emperors. He was the architect of his own destiny. He had risen from obscurity to the pinnacle of power. As emperor, he enacted sweeping reforms. He modernized the legal system, creating the Napoleonic Code. He established the Bank of France, stabilizing the economy. He patronized the arts and sciences, ushering in an era of cultural flourishing. His energy was boundless. He reformed and rebuilt France, making it a modern state. He was, in his own mind, not just a conqueror, but a builder, a man of destiny. Section 5, Austerlitz, Son of Glory. The Grand Army, Napoleon's instrument of conquest, clashed with the combined might of Austria and Russia at Austerlitz. It was Napoleon's masterpiece. He lured his enemies into a trap, feigned weakness, then struck with devastating force. The sun of Austerlitz, breaking through the winter clouds, illuminated his triumph. It was a victory for the ages. Austerlitz cemented Napoleon's legend. He dictated peace terms from the battlefield, reshaping the map of Europe. His empire stretched from the Atlantic to the borders of Russia. He was the master of the continent, his name whispered in awe and fear. But pride, as they say, often precedes the fall. The seeds of his downfall were already being sown. Section 6. The Tide Turns, Seeds of Doubt. Napoleon's ambition knew no bounds. He imposed a blockade on Britain, hoping to cripple its economy. But the British resisted. The Peninsular War in Spain drained French resources. The vastness of his empire became a liability. Cracks appeared in his facade of invincibility. His greatest blunder came in 1812. He led the Grand Army into the heart of Russia. The Russians, refusing to engage in open battle, retreated, drawing the French deeper into their vast territory. Then came the Russian winter, a merciless foe. The Grand Army, ravaged by hunger, disease, and the bitter cold, was decimated. Napoleon's aura of invincibility shattered on the frozen plains. Section 7, Elba and back, the Emperor returns. Defeated and abandoned by his marshals, Napoleon abdicated in 1814. He was exiled to the island of Elba, a tiny speck in the Mediterranean, but the Emperor was not finished. He watched as France, under a restored monarchy, struggled. He saw his opportunity. In a daring escape, he landed on the shores of France. He marched towards Paris, gathering support as he went. The soldiers sent to arrest him instead joined his cause. He was their emperor, and they would follow him to hell and back. The 100 Days had begun. Section 8. Waterloo, the final curtain. The final act of the Napoleonic drama unfolded on the fields of Waterloo. Napoleon, facing a combined British and Prussian army, fought with the fury of a cornered lion. But the odds were stacked against him. His luck, once so constant, had deserted him. The arrival of Prussian reinforcements sealed his fate. The French army, once invincible, broke and ran. Waterloo was a disaster, a crushing defeat from which Napoleon would never recover. His dreams of empire lay shattered on the muddy battlefield. Section 9, Exiles End, St. Helena's prisoner. This time there was no escape. Napoleon was exiled to the remote island of St. Helena, a lonely rock in the South Atlantic. Gone were the legions, the pomp and circumstance of empire. He was a prisoner, his world reduced to a small house and a few loyal companions. He filled his days with dictating his memoirs, crafting his own legend. He railed against his enemies, portraying himself as a martyr to British jealousy. But there were moments of reflection too. He pondered his triumphs and his failures, the rise and fall of his empire. Section 10. Legacy of the Emperor, a lasting shadow. Napoleon died on May 5, 1821. His last words, whispered in delirium, were France, armée, tête d'armée, France, army, head of the army. He was laid to rest on St. Helena, a world away from the empire he had built and lost. His legacy remains complex and contested. Was he a tyrant who sacrificed millions for his own ambition, or a visionary who modernized Europe and spread the ideals of the French Revolution? Perhaps he was both. He was a man of contradictions, capable of great cruelty and surprising tenderness. Section 11, Conclusion, Napoleon's place in history. Napoleon's impact on history is undeniable. He was a product of his time, but also a shaper of it. He rose from obscurity to remake the map of Europe. He embodied the ideals of the French Revolution, but also the dangers of unchecked ambition. He continues to fascinate us, 2 centuries after his death. He was, in the words of historian Andrew Roberts, the most complete human being since Leonardo da Vinci. He was a general, an emperor, a lawgiver, an exile. He was Napoleon Bonaparte, a name that still echoes through the corridors of history.